Rev up your engines! Welcome to Mechanic Monday! If your car is hesitating or misfiring, doesn't have very good acceleration, you might have a weak fuel pump. So today, I'm going to show you how to test fuel pumps using a fuel pressure gauge. Now, in order for a modern fuel-injected car to work right, the fuel pump has to put out just the perfect amount of pressure so that when the fuel injector computer pulses the fuel injectors, they spray just the exact amount of gas. If the pressure is too high, it can run too rich, and if the pressure is too low, it can run too lean and not get enough fuel. The most common thing of a worn-out fuel pump is the engine will run lean, and when the check engine light comes on, it'll say the engine's running too lean. Or you can get the code for random intermittent misfires, because if the pressure is too low, the engine won't be firing right, and it's often just a bad fuel pump. But unfortunately, unless you have a very late model fancy car, most vehicles don't have a sensor for fuel pressure to tell the computer what the actual fuel pressure is. So it's just left guessing for solutions. Now, some of the modern ones, yeah, they have fuel pressure sensors so the computer knows. And when that fuel pressure gets too low, it's going to trip a code for that, and you can figure that out really fast. But if you're amongst the majority of people's cars, you're going to have to pressure test the pump to see if it's bad. Now, years ago, it was real easy. You got a gauge, and you screwed the gauge onto a hose, and the other end of the hose had a threaded adapter that went on a Schrader valve, just like on your tires, and that would measure the fuel pressure. But alas, most manufacturers don't have Schrader valves for the fuel pressure gauges anymore. You gotta tap into the system to find that fuel pressure. The manufacturers came up with excuses like, oh well, the Schrader valves had a tendency to leak and that's dangerous with leaking gasoline. But really, they could make them pretty well, and they used to make them pretty good. It's just a cheaper way to make cars and making it harder for you to diagnose problems in your car. Now, if you suspect the fuel pump is getting weak on your car, the first thing you should always do is replace the fuel filter, because if the fuel filter is clogged up, it's going to jam up the passageway, so then the pressure after the filter is going to be lower, and the whole problem could be a clogged fuel filter. So always change your fuel filter first. If it's an easily accessible one like this Toyota that's right in the front, it just bolts on and off. But if you have one of those modern cars where those evil swine engineers put the fuel filter on the fuel pump inside the gas tank, and you got to pull the gas tank in order to change the fuel filter, then just go directly to a pressure reading of the system. Because you never know. Maybe the fuel pressure is fine. If it is, then you can rule out the pump and the filter being clogged. And even if the filter's clogged, you're going to pull the gas tank off, you might as well change the pump and the filter while you're in there doing all that work. In the case of this Toyota, you need an adapter to do fuel pressure. You can take the top of the fuel filter bolt off. Just go to the fuel filter. Here's the top of it. You unscrew this bolt and then screw this adapter on top, then hook up the gauge. Then take my advice. Do all this work on a cold engine. So if there's any fumes or leaking gas, it won't burn. On a cold engine, it's safer. Then crank it up. The engine won't start because you got no fuel going to the engine. It's all going to the gauge to see what the pressure is. And in this case, the pressure is about 42 psi, which is totally normal for this Toyota. Even though it has 240,000 miles on it and still has the original fuel pump, Toyota uses these Nip and Denso pumps, and they're pretty good pumps. Now, you can easily look up the pressure readings for your own car on the internet in 2 seconds. But here's a warning about really modern cars. If you notice, this gauge only goes up to 100 psi pressure. If you have a modern GDI, gasoline direct injection, some of those pumps put out 2,900 pounds per square inch pressure. So let's just say you're not going to be testing those pumps yourself. There's just too much pressure. If they have problems in those systems, it's basically you just replace them. If it's not getting any fuel and you don't think that pump is working right that puts out 2,900 psi, you just buy another pump. Forget trying to test it. And since this is Mechanic Monday, I'm giving away one of these Blue Driver fuel pressure tester kits. You have a chance to win. Place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below, and the winner will be chosen randomly by computers to be able to check their own car's fuel injection pressure. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.